Did you terminate or participate in any discipline of any FBI employee because of their work on an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th? Yes or no?
Any terminations at the FBI by employees.
No, I'm asking you a very specific
question. And I'm going to answer the question, but you don't like the answer because it's FBI employees are only terminated if they fail to uphold their oaths of office and duty.
You're not answering my question.
I don't have to answer your question yes or no because you're setting up a trap so you can have a media narrative.
I'm not setting up a trap.
And I'm not giving it to you.
Unless you want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of inmates. What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
Watch how fast this falls apart. A United States senator asks the FBI director one direct question. Did you fire anyone for working on cases against Donald Trump? The director says no. Then the senator finds a single word hiding inside that denial. Alone. And the entire answer collapses in real time. From there it only gets worse. A promise about Epstein's black book made on a podcast years before confirmation. A flat denial that Epstein trafficked anyone besides himself. Contradicted by a victim's own sworn testimony. Ghislaine Maxwell naming people inside the current cabinet in a federal interview, and the director refusing to say who. And when there's nowhere left to go, he doesn't answer the next question either. He calls the senator a fraud, a coward, a disgrace, live, on camera, until the chairman has to shut the whole room down. This is everything that happened, in order, with the context the clip never gives you.
Mr. Patel, during your confirmation hearing, you made several important commitments. For instance, you told Senator Coons there will be no politicization at the FBI. There'll be no retributive actions taken by any FBI should I be confirmed as FBI director. So let me ask you very specifically, did you ever take any action to terminate or discipline an FBI agent or employee in whole or in part as retribution for being part of an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th?
No.
You also committed, you assured Senator Blumenthal, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. So you're testifying today that you played no role in the firing of even a single FBI agent for political retribution.
I'm only speaking to my actions. Everybody is allowed to make their allegations.
Oh, no, these are allegations against you. And so, Mr. Patel, if FBI, senior FBI agents or employees said that you were firing them for political retribution reasons because of the cases they were assigned, you're saying they would be lying. Is that
anyone that was terminated at the FBI was done so for failing to meet the standards, uphold their constitutional oath, and effectuate the mission.
Notice the setup here. Schiff isn't accusing Patel of anything yet. He's just reading Patel's own words back to him from his confirmation hearing. That's a hard position to argue your way out of, because you either lived up to what you said or you didn't. The no on retribution comes instantly. But the next question is the real test. If agents are formally alleging political retaliation, are they lying? That's supposed to be the easy part. Say yes, defend your record, move on. Instead, Patel pulls back to, I'm only speaking to my actions, which sounds careful but actually says a lot. He won't call them liars. That's not nothing. What happens next is Schiff zeroing in on the exact phrase that's been giving Patel cover this whole time. And once he isolates it, the wheels start coming off.
You also guaranteed Senator Blumenthal that every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard. No one will be terminated for case assignments. Are you testifying today that you never terminated anyone at the FBI, in whole or in part, because of a prior case assignment?
No one at the FBI is terminated for case assignments alone.
Okay, you're saying alone. Does that mean they were terminated in part because they were assigned to a January 6th case or assigned to the Mar-a-Lago case? You're being very precise here, Mr. Patel. You're saying alone. That means they were fired in part because they were assigned those cases. Is that your testimony?
Any terminations at the FBI by employees.
No, I'm
since
asking you a very specific
And I'm
question.
going to answer the question, but you don't like the answer because it's the
No,
truth
I
and it guts
want
your
an answer to my
narrative.
question. I don't want an answer to someone else's question. So let me just be precise, and I ask for a yes or no answer. Did you ever terminate or discipline an FBI employee because they had been assigned or worked on an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th?
FBI
Yes or no?
employees are only terminated
Yes
if
or
they
no,
fail
Mr.
to
Patel?
uphold their oaths of
Yes or
office
no?
and duty.
You're not
at the
answering my
FBI
question.
I
You're
don't
not
have to
answering my
answer your question yes or no because you're setting up a trap so you can have a media
I'm
narrative.
not setting up a trap.
And I'm not giving it to you.
Unless it's true that you fired people.
People
in
have
whole
been
or in part
terminated at
because
the
they-
FBI who fail to uphold
they were
the
assigned
standards
to.
that the FBI requires them
Did you
to
tell?
uphold.
This is the moment the whole exchange turns. Alone isn't filler. In testimony like this, that word is doing very specific work. It leaves room for case assignments to be one factor among several, which is exactly what Patel swore would never happen. Schiff doesn't let it slide. He strips the word out and asks the question with nowhere left to hide. And Patel's response is the real story here. He tells a sitting senator he won't answer because it's a setup for a bad headline. Think about that. The head of the FBI is saying the truth matters less right now than how it gets reported. That's not a denial. That's someone protecting an answer he doesn't want on record. And from here, Schiff starts pulling on threads that lead somewhere much bigger than personnel decisions.
All FBI employees who they identified who had worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs. Did you tell that to someone at the FBI?
Say that I would remove people for case assignments?
That people that were identified as having worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs. Did you tell that to someone at the FBI?
People are not removed
Just
for case
answer my question.
assignments.
Just answer my question. Did you tell that to
People
someone?
are not removed for case
No,
assignments.
you're not answering my question.
And I would
Mr.
never
Patel,
tell anyone.
Did you tell someone at the FBI that FBI employees identified as having worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs? Yes or no, did you tell someone that?
I would never tell anyone at the FBI that they're being removed for basically their case assignments.
Okay, so anyone who said that would be lying. Is that your testimony?
Anyone can say whatever they want.
No, I know, but you're saying they were a liar.
I'm telling you what I said.
Because this is in the complaint against you, Mr. Patel. So you're saying Mr. Driscoll and others are liars?
I'm not going to address the complaint in the ongoing
Okay, well then let me ask you, have you ever told anyone at the FBI that the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it, and that your job depended on the removal of agents who worked on cases against the president?
No.
Did you ever tell anyone that?
No.
Did you ever tell anyone that you knew these summary firings you were undertaking were illegal, likely illegal, and that you would be sued and later deposed? Did you ever tell anyone that?
No firings at the FBI or terminations were done for anything other than justified
Did you ever
cause.
tell anyone that, Mr.
No,
Patel? Why don't you
no
answer my question?
terminations at the FBI were ever done in my tenure for anything other than failing
Did you
to
ever tell
uphold
anyone
their
that,
oath of
Mr. Patel? You willing to
office
answer
or
the
their-
question?
The FBI.
I guess
I
you're
have
not willing to
answered
answer the
it.
question. So let me move on. Let me move on to the Epstein files.
Pay attention to that unfinished sentence, the ongoing, and then nothing. He never says what it's ongoing. Litigation? An internal review? Something else entirely? In testimony, the part someone doesn't finish saying is often more telling than the part they do. Then Schiff pivots to something Patel said long before any of this, back when he was just a media figure with no skin in the game, telling Glenn Beck that the Epstein Black Book answers directly to whoever runs the FBI. Easy claim to make from the outside. He's the FBI director now. Time to see if that promise survives contact with reality.
You said you're the most transparent FBI director in history, so I'm going to put you to the test. In 2024, you were asked by Glenn Beck about Epstein's Black Book. And you said, he asked, who has Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book? And you said, Black Book FBI. And he said, but who? That is, I mean theirs. And you said, oh, that's under the direct control of the director of the FBI. That's what you said. Was that true, Mr. Patel?
I'll rely on you quoting it accurately. I did that a couple
Was
of
it
years
true
ago.
what you represented to Mr. Beck and the president's supporters out there, or were you lying?
No.
Was it true that the Black Book, Epstein's Black Book, was in the possession of the FBI director?
The Black Book was in the possession of the FBI.
Okay, so now that you're the FBI director, you have possession of the Black Book, right?
That index has been released.
So you have Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book?
What is known as Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book has been released by us.
And you released it. And let me follow up on Senator Kennedy's question, because he asked you, you've seen most of the files, Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And you said, himself, there's no credible information, none. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And Kennedy, the information we have, again, is limited. And Senator Kennedy said, the answer is no one. And you said, for the information we have. So is it your testimony today that in all the Epstein files, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself? Is that your testimony, Mr.
I never
Patel?
said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else.
Did he traffic any young woman to someone other than himself? That was Mr. Kennedy's question,
And I
Senator Kennedy's
said
question.
the information that 3 administrations have had access to
I'm
have
asking
made
you-
determinations that there are no investigative leads that were credible to prosecute and investigate any others. I'm
Well,
specifically
I'm asking
stating
you whether
we
it's
were
your
working on.
testimony today.
Well,
that-
you just read
that
it, and I said it 10 minutes ago, so let the record reflect my
I
testimony.
just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, because there are victims like Virginia Guifer who have testified otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying, and
Well,
you
let
can
me-
say
let me
whatever
ask
you
Let
want.
me ask you this.
What's known as the Black Book is doing a lot of careful lifting in that sentence. Then the bigger problem. Patel's position is that across 3 administrations, nobody found credible evidence Epstein trafficked anyone but himself. That's a sweeping claim, and it runs directly into Virginia Giuffre's own sworn testimony naming other people. One of those accounts isn't accurate, and Patel doesn't resolve which one. He just repeats his answer and asks the record to reflect it. Then it gets even more specific, because the next name Schiff brings up isn't a victim. Accounts isn't accurate, and Patel doesn't resolve which one. He just repeats his answer and asks the record to reflect it. Then it gets even more specific, because the next name Schiff brings up isn't a victim. It's Ghislaine Maxwell, and what she said in a federal interview about who exactly was in Epstein's orbit.
Todd Blanche went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell. She said, but did I think these guys were coming for that? I really don't. If you met Epstein, there's no way that this cast of characters, of which it's extraordinary, and some are in your cabinet, who you value as your co-workers, and you know would be with him if he was a creep or because they wanted sexual favors. A man wants sexual favors, he will find that. They didn't have to come to Epstein for that. And the next question Todd Blanche, the president's former criminal defense lawyer, asked is not who in the cabinet, who are you referring to? His question is, so when's the last time you think you were with Mr. Epstein when he got a massage? Who are those cabinet members that Ghislaine Maxwell was referring to that were part of this cast of characters associated with Mr. Epstein? Who are they?
The Deputy Attorney General took the aggressive step that no one else did and interviewed Ms. Maxwell for
I'm
2
asking you,
days,
who are
and we
the
released
who are
the
the cabinet
entirety
members?
of that
Who are the cabinet
transcript.
members?
I do not have that transcript in front of me. You're picking it piecemeal. The American
And-
public can read the entirety of
Let me ask you
that.
one last question, because you clearly won't tell us the cabinet members associated with Mr. Epstein. Let me ask you one last question.
Sit with what Maxwell actually said here. She's not speculating about strangers. She's talking about people inside the current cabinet, people she describes as part of an extraordinary group around Epstein, and she's specifically rejecting the idea that sex was the reason they were there. That's a serious claim sitting in an official transcript made to the president's own former lawyer. Schiff asks the obvious follow-up, name them, and Patel's answer is to point at the transcript instead of just answering. If the names are already public in a released document, repeating them costs nothing. The fact that he won't says the names carry weight he'd rather not put back into the room himself. Then comes the last question, and it's the one that turns this from an uncomfortable hearing into something that ends the entire exchange.
She's transferred to a minimum security prison not suitable for a sex offender like herself. Who made that decision and why?
The Bureau of Prisons.
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're not in
inmates.
the weeds?
What I am
The
doing is
most-
protecting
the
this
most-
country,
the
providing
most
historic
significant
reform,
witness
and
the most
combating the
significant witness,
weaponization of
the
intelligence
Epstein
by the likes
files
of you,
cover-up,
and we have
gets
countlessly proven you to
from
be a
your
liar in
administration,
Russiagate, in
and
January
you call that
6th.
being
You are
in
the
the
biggest
weeds?
fraud to ever sit in the
This
United States
stinks to
Senate.
high
You are a
heaven.
disgrace to this
This stinks to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter
And
coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not
I'm
surprised
not
that you continue to
surprised
lie
that
from your perch and put on a show
two of you
so you can go
have
raise
you
money for your
and for good
charade.
reason.
You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take
and
it to
make-
the
you can take
bank
an
that the
internet-
FBI is
you
protecting
can
this
make an
country
internet troll,
and the state and
the FBI
citizens of the
director
California.
will
We
always
are bringing
be nothing more
historic
than an
reform.
internet
Point of
troll.
order. But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
You said
take
I'm the
control
most
of this
transparent
situation.
FBI director in history.
Take control of this
33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Walk through the actual sequence here, because the timing is the whole point. Maxwell gives an interview naming powerful people. Almost immediately afterward, she's moved to a facility that doesn't match her offense profile. Patel's explanation is that the Bureau of Prisons acted entirely on its own, with no input from anyone above them. Maybe that's true, but an agency under my own department made this call independently isn't proof. It's a claim with no verification behind it, made by the person whose department it is. And then Schiff asks the only logical follow-up. Does Patel really expect people to take that at face value? And Patel doesn't answer it. He attacks. Biggest fraud in Senate history. Coward. Buffoon. None of that addresses the question. It replaces the question. That's the part worth remembering after the headlines fade. Every uncomfortable question in this hearing, the case assignments, the black book, Maxwell's testimony, the prison transfer, ends the same way. Not with an answer, with an attack on whoever asked.
The charges should be thrown out as a violation of the First Amendment and due process rights, because Trump had used the Justice Department to punish and deter those who would speak out against him. Senator, I want to ask you, in your capacity as a lawyer and a former prosecutor, there was a moment today when the live coverage of what was happening in the courtroom made its way out. What? I didn't know you could. What? What's going on? What was your reaction to what happened in that court today?
Well, it's astonishing that the indictment that was ultimately presented to a judge was never seen by the entire grand jury. So they bring one indictment in. It has 3 counts. The grand jury refuses to indict on one of those counts. They should have brought a new indictment before the grand jury and presented that. They didn't. And it still seems, and maybe part of the answer is this strange practice of bringing in an indictment that the grand jury hasn't seen. But there's also allegations of missing pages of a grand jury transcript. Today, before it was acknowledged that the new indictment was never shown to the full grand jury, and that is the retribution here, the retaliation here. The evidence of that is so strong